Okay, as you're aware, holiday season is upon us. Christmas is tomorrow and New Year's is in a week. If you're living in a Western country, you're probably going to be around alcohol, whether that's you drinking or one of your family or friends. Likely, these people are also going to drive. Drinking and driving isn't ideal, but it also isn't always illegal. It depends on the alcohol concentration in the person's blood while they're operating the motor vehicle. Today, I'll explain what a standard drink is, the guidelines for Australia in regards to current drink driving legislation, and some easy ways you can calculate roughly how much you've had. So stay tuned.
To alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
The poison we know generically as alcohol is fun because it contains ethanol, the psychoactive compound that makes us feel stimulated and chatty at small doses, but groggy and disinhibited at higher doses. Whether we're talking about a cold pale ale, yuck, a glass of red wine, a shot of vodka, a cup of whiskey, or a tinny of bourbon, we need a way to figure out how strong each of these is. Especially considering there's only 30 mils in a standard shot of vodka, but 375 mils in some premixed drinks or beer cans. This is where you're probably familiar with ABV, alcohol by volume, better known as the percentage. The percent and the overall volume is what essentially tells us how much alcohol is in a drink. This, however, can be confusing. Thankfully, in some countries, like the good old country I'm in, Australia, we generally have a label on the bottle or can that does the maths for you. Because you're 7 tinnies deep, 3 shots of Fireball, and a glass of vino in your system, some of us degens love to flex to our peers. I've had 11.5 standard drinks, you dog. These are rookie numbers. But seriously, this makes calculating this a lot easier. I'll show some examples on the screen and mention a few. As a rough guideline, a 375ml can of mid-strength beer is one standard Australian drink, with a full-strength can being 1.4 standards. A 100ml glass of 13.5% wine is one standard drink. A 30ml shot of 40% spirits is around one standard drink. The guideline for blood alcohol content and driving in most of Australia is 0.05. Please check your local state and country guidelines for more specific information, as I'm going to focus on New South Wales, where I'm from. This means if you're an average sized male, you can have no more than 2 standard drinks in the first hour and 1 standard drink every hour after. If you're an average sized woman, that's 1 standard drink per hour in general. It's important to remember, it's not how you identify that plays a role here. There are several factors that influence how quickly or slowly alcohol leaves one's body. In regards to sex, women tend to have less water in their body than men. Other factors include how your genes, no, not those genes, these genes, can process ethanol. Age, medication, body fat percentage, and drinking on an empty stomach all impacts blood alcohol concentration. It's also important to remember, alcohol levels in your blood can rise for up to 18 hours after consumption. So if you're having a big one and plan on a big trip the next day, you might need to stop drinking earlier, have less overall, get someone who isn't drinking much to drive instead, or leave later the following day. Let's talk about the penalties of drink driving for a moment here, as this has gotten a lot stricter in recent years. I'll mention the minimum penalties, but note that these can be way worse if it's not your first offense or you're on good behavior, not to mention double demerit points, which is currently active right now, so likely you'll receive double the penalty. Low range drink driving is considered between 0.05 and 0.08 blood alcohol concentration. This carries a minimum fine of $682 and a 3-month license disqualification, so it's not the slap on the wrist that it used to be. Mid-range drink driving, where blood alcohol concentration is between 0.08 and 0.15. The New South Wales government website does not mention a minimum fine, but it does mention a 6-month minimum license disqualification and possibly even prison time. High-range drink driving is when you have a blood alcohol concentration above 0.15. This carries a minimum loss of license for 12 months, an alcohol interlock device order, and even bigger penalties. Something I've wondered is, why do police use breathalyzers, and how does that determine how drunk someone is? Well, apparently when you drink, some of the alcohol evaporates into the air in the lungs and this is proportional with the amount that's in the blood. However, if you do get pulled over, police will ask you if you have drank anything in the last 15 to 30 minutes or so, as this can give a false reading due to mouth alcohol. Fuel cell technology used in breathalyzers reacts with the alcohol in your exhaled breath to generate an electric current. The strength of the current determines the rough blood alcohol content in your system. Infrared technology, on the other hand, analyzes the breath in a chamber and passes infrared light through it to determine how much alcohol is present. Owning a breathalyzer to give you a rough indication isn't a bad idea, and some people will swear by it. I've put some links in the description for breathalyzers on Amazon to give you an indication of if you might be over or not. Remember, these don't really hold up in court, possibly not even the police grade one that I've linked, so relying on counting your drinks and knowing how strong the drinks are is still the best point of call, other than not drinking at all. So remember, instead of drinking this Christmas, smoke weed instead. I'm kidding. Police can test for that too. Drink responsibly, have a good time, take care of your loved ones, and remember, there's cops out everywhere this season, so it's probably not worth taking any silly risks on the road. Hope you've learned something today, and remember to up your life.